Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today's session focuses on Operation Sindoor and the role of media. Not just a messenger of facts, but as a force that shaped narratives, influenced perspective, and even impacted diplomacy. Our panel will reflect on how media reported the operation, the challenges it faced, and the lessons it offered for journalism, national security in the future. Let us begin with the dialogue. With me is our esteemed panelists Nitin Gokhale sir, Sachin Gogoi, and Sangeeta Barua Pisharti. Basically, Operation Sindoor, we saw, had many narratives. Indian media celebrated its victory, whereas international media had some different narrative. We had interviews of Yalda Hakim, who went viral with her interviews of top bureaucrats from Pakistan. And Indian Defense Ministry stayed away from the international media. We had over-expressive national media who had sirens and bunkers in their studios, which caught the eyeballs, but then we were also misled by the misinformation and the fake news. I would like to know about Operation Sindoor and what are your views if the media did justice to this entire operation. Over to you. Yeah.
Hello and a very good morning to everyone, and thank you, the organizers, for calling me to be part of this panel discussion. It is an important discussion because I, being a member of Indian media, has also been thinking about, now that we have a little time to go back, look back, and think what has happened during the time. It happened so quickly, Smitakshi, that we had to really, we had not much time. And I tell you, having come from an organization called The Wire, we had a double whammy. I'll tell you where the double whammy happened. And so when you talk about the international media and Indian media, I would still make a difference between categorize between between the Indian electronic media and the other media, say digital media, print media, the entire, I should use this Hindi word being in Delhi, the nautanki, entire nautanki happened in the Indian television. The fake industry, the line between the fake industry, the fake news industry, the factory, I should say, the line blurred between that industry and the television media at the time. But print, digital, in Indian media were actually trying to do work. Sachin will get into the international space, I would not, but I still say that my senior at my office, journalist Karan Thapar, was every day bringing in the international voices also to our Indian viewership, to see what is actually happening, because we wanted to give the 360-degree view. So that's why we got people even from Pakistan. The former NSA of Pakistan was trying to control the narrative. We were not allowing that to happen, because that's the time, that's the beauty and the strength of the Indian media that we have to show. When you try to control the narrative worldwide, we have to come in between. And that space was given away by the electronic media at that time, because electronic media is a very powerful media. At that time, you should be, because people watch them. If you can control them at that time, if you can tell them that this is the lie you are telling to the international community, we would have been able to control it. But instead, what happened? Wire was shut for about 12 hours. And why was it done? Because we reported what a CNN already reported. We curated that report. And because of that report, we were shut for about 12 hours. And we wanted to go to the court, but they thankfully lifted the thing, saying that, you know, that story, if we can discuss later, and which we agreed to, because nobody wants to go against a government which is fighting a rogue state. So, so you have to work with certain responsibility, and we did that. Okay, so Smitakshi, is very important. That's why, to differentiate between you know, Indian media at different categories. But having said that, look what is happening in Nepal today. Okay, the Indian media is getting very terrible treatment, all thanks to the to this television media. And but there are a lot of reporters who are there from print, digital. You don't see those videos. They are not being attacked. You are getting, moment they see the mic, they are coming and attacking. That means the kind of you know, the reputation that has gone down of Indian media is only solely for because of that. So it's a thing we all, as members of media, as members of public, need to think about what has gone wrong there. Yeah, thank you.
So my next question will be to Sachin Gogoi. So India actually criticizes BBC for an equivalence framing. BBC basically showed both the sides quite equally, quite flatly, like, you know, as if, but India, on the other hand, was actually fighting terrorism. That's what we all say, that, you know, it's fighting terrorism, it was a counter-attack, and it was an operation which was conducted because of the Pahalgam attacks that were done on civilians. So why this narrative from BBC, and what are your takes on it?
First of all, a big congratulations to the Pratidin group for organizing such a fabulous event year after year. It's been a remarkable effort, and it's wonderful to be a part of this journey. Now, to talk about media's role, I'm reminded of a quote by a famous American writer, Douglas Kennedy. He had said, "We all talk so much about how much we hate lies, but we prefer, most often, lies. And the reason is, we find comfort in comfortable lies, you know, than encountering painful truths." And I think that is one premise on which Indian media outlets, a lot of them have been working on. They have been dishing out lies which people feel very comfortable with, and essentially they start gaining currency. Now, to talk about BBC's role, yes, I mean, you go to any part of the world, BBC is accused of doing a lot of things or not doing a lot of things. We acknowledge that, but I think, you know, I have a very clear perspective on this. Barely after joining the BBC, after 5 or 6 months, I had an opportunity to interact with a senior editor of the organization, and, you know, we got talking about different issues, like how the organization is perceived in different parts of the world. She told to me that essentially, as a news organization, we have the responsibility of asking questions to the powerful, not to people who are in opposition. And at the same time, as a news organization, we have the responsibility to provide voices to the voiceless. So essentially, it's not the work of a news organization to amplify the voice of the government. The government has innumerable ways of, you know, taking its voice to the audiences. It has its own news outlets, it has its own websites, different departments maintain websites. For a news organization to be truly serving democracy, it's paramount that we ask difficult questions to the people who are making policies, to the people who are in power. Now, coming specifically to the issue of the coverage of the May conflict between India and Pakistan, I believe we did a fabulous job, and I'll tell you why. I think our coverage was restrained, dispassionate, and impartial. You know, as an Indian, I do not consider myself as any less patriotic than anybody else. But the moment I wear the lapel, the moment I am ready to, stroke the keyboard, the keys on the keyboard, I cannot be a patriotic, angry Indian. I work for an international media organization, and, we often forget the target audience. Like every media organization has a target audience. And I'll drill it down to a very simple fact. For instance, Pratidin. Pratidin's audience base is mostly Assamese, mostly based in Assam. So when there is a conflict between two states, maybe Assam, Meghalaya, maybe Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, I think it's very easy for Pratidin to take a stance in that, isn't it? When there's a conflict between India and Pakistan, again, it's very easy to take a bit of a stance in that. But if, for instance, Kamrup is having a conflict with, say, Mongoldoy, is it easy to take a position in that kind of a situation? It's not, because your audiences are across Assam, across districts. People will have to have trust and faith in you. You cannot be seen as partial or not neutral. So in our case, when I'm facing the camera or I'm writing a piece, I'll have to be mindful of the audiences across the world. So that precisely is the reason why I think our coverage was quite restrained, impartial, balanced, and people talked about, certain narratives. I at least don't know we tried to set any narrative as such, because, if I go back to Balakot, if you remember, Pakistan had asserted that a few trees were killed in the operation. And I think it was after BBC Urdu's coverage from the Balakot facility where essentially the world came to know that there was widespread destruction of the facility. So I mean, we didn't really take a position, we didn't take a stance, we brought the truth as it is. So I think that's essentially our
That's
coverage
the
stance.
role of media, whether it's international or national. We should be always speaking the truth. Coming to Nitin sir, actually you have covered Kargil war, and it's been 40 years of journey in journalism. You have seen Operation Sindoor. So what kind of reporting went on in the back old days in Kargil war, wherein you were reporting in ground zero? Today's reporting has changed, We have seen 25 years from Kargil war, that was in 1999. Now in 2025, we saw a different kind of we have seen studios which had bunkers and sirens, and sometimes you're confused, siren is coming from outside or in the studio. So what do you have to say? What's the difference of this reporting, and what is the role of war journalists?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I must say my congratulations to Akhomor Pratidin Kagaz yate Delhi tahi eneka conclave korise. I think you deserve Jayanto big congratulations. Akhomot moi 23 bosor Akhomot asilu. Most of you may not know I worked in Assam from 1983 to 2006. More career to moi start korisu Sentinelot. Tarpisot Northeast Times moi nije launch korisu. Tarpisot Outlook, Sunday Magazine, Telegraph, তাৰপৰা গুৱাহাটীৰ পৰা নৰ্থ ইষ্ট গোটেই নৰ্থ ইষ্টটো ৰিপৰ্টিং কৰিছোঁ সেইকাৰণে ভাল লাগিছে ঘৰত অহা নিচিনা লাগিছে বেক টু দি হাউচ বাট টু কাম টু ইয়ৰ কুৱেশ্যন well Kargil before Kargil I must say that my grounding happened in the northeast 23 years in the northeast I reported only the military and the militants I always tell people that whatever I learned there reporting that region, getting, sort of attacked, kidnapped twice, once in Tripura, once in Nagaland, misunderstanding or whatever, that gave me a grounding for conflict reporting. My specialization became conflict reporting. So I was sent to Kargil from Guwahati by my editor that time, Vinod Mehta. And it was a difficult period, 45 days we spent there in Kargil. It was a completely different era. There were no phones, only satellite phones were used by rich organizations. Outlook was not rich, so we didn't do that. We didn't need to do it also. But things have changed. Certainly in 25 years, technology has changed. I call my own journey from 1983 to now as journey of telegram to telegram. I used to send news by telegram. Now I send news by telegram app if I need to, right? So that's the way technology has changed in 42, 45 years. But coming to Operation Sindoor itself, the difference between what was in Kargil was that what we saw, we tried to report. In Operation Sindoor, because of the technology, the time and space has shrunk for everyone. For the people who are giving information, people who are getting the information and trying to give it to the common people, that has completely shrunk.
I suppose you had 2 days to file your Kargil
I had 1
war
week
report.
to file. In Kargil, I had 1 week to file my report because I used to travel every week from Leh to Kargil, come back to Leh, file from there. So that was a different era. I also did the Sri Lanka war between 2006 and 2009 for NDTV when I was invited by NDTV to come and join them here as their defense editor in Delhi. So I shifted from Guwahati to Delhi in 2006, 19 years ago. And then, of course, I was heading the Defense and Strategic Affairs beat with 5 other different reporters. But that is not the point. The point is that conflict reporting today, unfortunately, most organizations don't want to spend money. They don't have budgets. So everyone has become a studio warrior. They don't have experience on the ground. Like I remember in 2006-2009 period, NDTV would have spent about 40 lakh rupees to go on ground and do the reporting from Sri Lanka. Today, very few people do that. Very few people can afford to do it and do not have the inclination to do it. I don't consider Indian television news as television news after 6 p.m. in the evening. They are views television. They are not news television. It's one anchor and 12 other windows shouting at each other. That's the views television that you have. So therefore, don't go very seriously with what they give out as news, because that's views, not news. It's not factual. So I think that's sad. Digital space is actually taking over the space of what news, what television was, say, 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And that's a good thing. But one danger there in the digital news space is the lack of information or lack of experience. So I run 3 portals. They're very niche. Bharat Shakti group has Bharat Shakti. It's got Strat News Global and it's got Strat News Global Tech. These are the YouTube channels. So we didn't try to report anything. We tried to analyze. Our job is to analyze and comment because we got some experience, we believe, better than others, most others. So the thing that you spoke to the my co-panelist, I have 2 opinions on that. One is that today reporting is not primary. Reporting is basically secondary, trying to get experts in the studio and trying to get their views, which is not really information. Secondly, in fog of war, there will always be, lies, half-truths, misconceptions, disinformation, all that will happen. That has now become a weapon of choice, disinformation. The job of a journalist today or an analyst today is to sort of sift the wheat from the chaff and then give the facts or actually, come to the conclusion. Now, it was a 4-day war, not exactly a war, it was a kind of attack, it was a standoff. Indian planes didn't cross the Pakistan, the LOC or the IB. It was a standoff attack. Missiles were used. They tried to attack India, but India thwarted it. All that happened, and you have to also see what any war has a political objective. See, most people forget this. What was the political objective? Political objective was to send a message to the Pakistani army and to the the Pakistani army's support to the terrorist organizations. By hitting the terrorist headquarters in Pakistan, Punjab, which was considered a no-no. It was considered to be very escalatory, where Pakistan might be tempted to use nuclear weapons, was the normal analysis and conclusion. But India did this, crossed a red line which it had not crossed. Having achieved that, India achieved what it wanted. The rest of it is all, as they say in military, all Angrezi, that I did this and I did that. So I don't think we should look at this as a war. It was a skirmish. We have not yet finished. I assess that in the next 6 months we might have another round of Operation Sindoor.
Yeah, and that's what Rajnath Singh ji says, that it is a pause, it is not a full stop. Coming to next, we have seen press meets that was addressed by Lieutenant Colonel Sophia Qureshi, Air Force pilot Bhumika Singh, Vikram Mishri, Foreign Secretary of India. It was, I feel, a significant portrayal of women empowerment, or maybe a calculative narrative's choice. What are your thoughts on it, Sangeeta?
Of course, it was good to see two women, taking the stage like that and talking about something which is not soft issue. You know, having come from journalism itself, and when I started, like say 30 years ago, we were all asked to do only soft stories, feature stories. That's why you would see most of the, the newsrooms, the women would be in the features section. You know, that happened in the Hindu too, where I work. So it was very good to see that, okay? But I would draw, pluck out that sentence from what Nitinji had said, that every war has a political objective. So they wanted to show that to the rest of the world, particularly to this rogue state, Pakistan, that we are together. We stand here, Hindu or Muslim, we stand here together. Because see, the whole thing with the Operation Sindoor happened because of the Pahalgam, and then there was a religious thing to it. So that's what I feel, that it was also political, but as a woman, if I have to look at it, I felt good.
So we have seen so many media engagements of top Pakistan bureaucrats and defense minister talking to CNN, Sky News. On the other side, we saw very little of that engagement on the Indian side. Our defense ministry or any of the ministers did not get really engaged in the international media scenario. What do you think? Why was that? Definitely, I'm sure BBC or other news channels must have approached the Indian ministry for their stance on it. Why didn't they, get connected or get engaged in interviews?
Very apt observation. On the Pakistani side, I saw from day one that the leaders were engaging with international media. They were helping journalists reach Pakistan. They were providing all hospitality. They're giving interviews. Many of the leaders made a lot of faux pas. We noticed that. Still, they were at it. On the Indian side, I cannot say for sure what was the reason, but there was a definite strategy not to engage with international media. And you said rightly, I will not go into the details, but we do try from time to time to get versions from the government. But it's not really my job to offer suggestions to the Indian government as to what they should be doing, what strategies they should be adopting. But personally, I feel that the strategy of not engaging with international media, it probably will not benefit that much. And I'll tell you the reason why I believe that. I think there's a bit of a confidence in the Indian security establishment that essentially whatever details the important people need to know, how many positions we have really struck, who emerged victorious in this skirmish, in this conflict, people who need to know, they know. Who would believe that the US or NATO members would not know what kind of destruction must have taken place on the other side, or what kind of damages India may have suffered. That could be one strategy that, there's absolutely no need to go and clarify to others. But, narratives are much bigger things. Even if people in the government in the US, UK, or other NATO members know, that knowledge would be limited to some people as to what really happened. But when it comes to narratives, it's all pervasive. Students, people in academia, normal people, hoi polloi, they would be wondering what is happening. And if they do not get the clear picture, they do not get the clear version from the Indian side, maybe they would find the Pakistani side believable. So essentially, those are people, the youngsters, who would go on to become diplomats someday, policymakers someday. So, what kind of a mindset, what kind of a worldview are you developing? And media has a huge role in playing that. So I feel that, the strategy of not engaging with international media, probably it's not serving that well.
So the Pahalgam attack, 22nd April, we saw Jammu and Kashmir, which was a hotspot, a tourist hotspot, and there were 26 civilians gunned down very brutally. It's a clear picture of security lapses. What, according to you, sir, should India do to uplift their security? And did the intelligence totally fail during that time? Because we had no information, there was no security, and this time it was in Pahalgam, it could be any other region on tourist destinations. So is it the porous borders or security lapses? What's your take?
No, certainly, I mean, on the face of it, you can call it a security lapse, but there is a context to this entire episode that has happened, which one must know. But I'll come to that. I just want to add to why Indian government or Indian interlocutors don't engage with or why the Pakistanis do it. So there is any weaker side will always try and do something unusual. And Pakistan has been known since 1947-48 to use opinions, media, narratives as their weapon of choice. Because they're a weaker side. They are always on the... In fact, in the Pakistan, the narrative about the 1965 war, which has completed 60 years this month, is on 6th of September 1965. Pakistan calls it a victory day. In 1971, when India had actually attacked Lahore, in 1971, then when 93,000 soldiers surrendered in East Pakistan, they were saying, march on till victory. The Dawn headline of the newspaper Dawn was like that. So Pakistan has always tried to deny or live in a make-believe world. And they've always tried to project themselves as the victors. So that's there in their DNA. We can't deny that. Secondly, Pakistan has gone about systematically in the international think tanks, media, academic circles to plant their own people who can pick up a pen or pick up a mic and speak immediately. India hasn't done that. That's a weakness of the Indian system. India doesn't give enough attention to what is called the information war or information influence operations. That's a weakness. And the third point is, the old adage where they say, lie travels half the world before the truth can put on its shoes, which is true in this case also. Ultimately, truth prevails. Everyone knows what destruction India has done. That happens. But in today's world where information travels the speed of lightning, you do feel that India is slow in catching up with Pakistan. That's what I just wanted to comment. The younger people here should know how this works. But you asked me about the security lapse. Certainly. But how does security lapse occur? It's not as if there is no information. If you go back to last 2 years in Jammu and Kashmir, there have been sporadic incidents of killing of security forces. 2 or 3 people, 2 soldiers, 2 yatris in Amarnath or whatever in the last 2-3 years. But Pakistan was seeing this as not making enough impact. Jammu and Kashmir was being normalized as any other state in India. It was becoming tourist friendly. 2.5 crore or nearly 3 crore tourists were traveling to Jammu and Kashmir. It was Pakistan was losing the perception game as far as Jammu and Kashmir was concerned. It needed to do something big. And let me tell you, having watched the space of terrorism, counter-terrorism and military and militants, the militants or the terrorists have to succeed only once. So we don't get to know how many times such terrorist attacks have been prevented, because the intelligence agencies, security forces cannot speak about it. I'm sure there were at least 20 odd, 25 odd incidents where such cells or such groups of terrorists were either picked up or prevented from carrying out attacks. They have to succeed once, which they did, which is a lapse on the part of security forces. But also look at the challenge that when you have a tourist-friendly place, You don't want to have overwhelming presence of security forces there and put people off. So this will happen. I'm not saying it is pardonable, but also see the whole context. Having done that, in the battle for, battle of terrorists versus the state, it's not what the terrorists do. That is certainly important, and you have to always try and prevent that. But it is important how you react to it. Have you gone and punished the perpetrators of the terrorism enough and deterred them at least for the next 2-3 years? Yes, India has done that. Balakot may not have prevented, but Balakot gave you 6 years space, right? After what happened in Pulwama, India carried out the Balakot attack.
But sir, what is the permanent solution to
There's
it?
no permanent solution to Pakistan because Pakistan is only state of Pakistan's mind is to try and be a nuisance to India. India is growing much faster. So we have to live with it. It's like a monkey on our back. I always call Pakistan like a monkey on our back. We'll have to suffer some of the losses like this. Minimizing the losses is the trick. How many losses can you prevent? Because your main adversary is China and not Pakistan. I think we get overly obsessed with Pakistan, but the security establishment is looking at China as the bigger adversary than Pakistan. Pakistan is a challenge which we will deal with. Sometimes we'll lose. You win some, you lose some. That's the game, name of the game as far as terrorism or counter-terrorism is concerned. I think we should know this. Our people should be told about this. Unfortunately, the governments don't say this openly. You admit your lapses, your faults, and then try and improve it the next time.
What is the situation with Arunachal-China border, and how should India take up the national security on that?
Well,
front?
I think that's why I said like last 10, say from 2013 onwards, frankly, Indian military establishments complete orientation has gone towards the northern border. And they are looking at China as the primary adversary, Pakistan as the secondary adversary. When they get together, there is a challenge. So we have to meet that challenge. Today we have to prepare for the Chinese challenge. Despite all the bonhomie and the thaw that we see, it's temporary. It's what I call tactical adjustment with China that we are doing because we have a challenge from the US also. There is a unhinged man sitting in the White House who's creating challenges every day. So you have to live with it. This is the world, real world, where you cannot have ideal situations. So you sort of have nimble-footed diplomacy, military strategies, and that's how you do it, right?
So I would like to quote National Security Advisor Ajit Dovalji on 11th July in IIT Madras. He strongly criticized the foreign media coverage on Operation Sindoor, and he said there was no damage of Indian, Rafales, or no debris were found, or And on the other side, we have the defense minister saying very vocally that 5 Rafales were gunned down, and we have evidence. When asked, where is the evidence? He said that it is all over Indian social media, not Pakistan social media. And we also have Washington Post, who said that there were debris found in the borders. So what, according to you, is the truth?
I think the truth lies between those two, statements that you have said. Because I remember on May 7th morning, the Wire had done a story, which others had also done, a local ground report from Bhatinda, where our reporter said that there was a debris there, and one farmer got killed, laborer. It fell. This thing fell onto the jet fell on the wheat fields in a village in Bhatinda district, and a couple of other people were injured, which were taken to the civil hospital, and then the army came and circled it. Okay, so we were waiting for the army to, or at least the government, the defense ministry, to issue a statement to tell us about this. As journalists, we have to call up the ministry spokesperson, ask, what is this? Because you cannot just hide it. It's a physical thing standing there, and one person's died too. So, but no statement came. It was just circled and taken away. So, and then we of course reported that, and so did others, and then we got to see an interview of a company official of Rafale giving an interview to CNN at the time and saying that they were concerned because they think that at least 3 Rafales were shot down by the Pakistanis, which were using the Japanese, the J-10s, because this skirmish that we talk about was also a kind of an arms and ammunition test, of these in this entire region. So they were looking at it as from that angle. So when we reported that, because the government of India, as Sachin says, was quiet, was not talking about, was not even engaging. And then when we see the television media, it was like all dressed up in war fatigue, and newsrooms became war rooms. And they were all circulating lies. They were saying things like the Karachi airport le liya. I remember the BBC and all were like calling up, their person standing there said it stands. So and at that point in time, the government will have to speak, and it didn't. And today, I agree, Nitinji, what you are saying is that Pakistan does that, but we are also now living in times where the social media and everything is very, very, deeply penetrated into our society. So, and young people consume that. So we have to somewhere ensure that war is something we need to win too. So when we reported that story, because the government of India is quiet, what we saw was that the Wire website was shut. Okay, so, but government never came out and said, even today, and then the NSA, he's saying that ek photo dikha do. He was talking about the New York Times, and he said the New York Times reporting, I challenged him to show one photo. What happened to the Bhatinda photo? We want to know why, as a journalist, I need to bring that story to the public, because the government of the day is responsible, is जो हिंदी में कहते हैं जवाबदेही होनी चाहिए एक state का towards the public, because the nation is supreme, and the government will come and governments will go. So publics will remain and the nation will remain. So if a rogue state has come and first kill our people and then actually shot down our jets, which we are like we look at them as really super efficient and capable of lot of things, we need to discuss this, because this is linked directly to nation security. And when it comes to nation security, a journalist will have to ask these questions. So that, I feel, was something that, Doval ji agar koi press conference kar de, wo sawal mein pooch lungi.
So definitely there was a little gray side, and that's what we are willing to explore through this. During the ground zero reporting, we had reporter Pranjal Pratim Das. He had covered, he went to Punch to cover Operation Sindoor. He quotes that, I have observed the powerful voices of local people who boldly criticizes the ceasefire and urge the government to pursue a final resolution, even through war. Their pain is real. They evacuated their homes, faced artillery and missile attacks, and suffered deep losses, their homes, their cattle, their everything. As a reporter, we witnessed this. He says this. But when the war ends, do we cover these human side angles? Because we usually get lost in the bigger picture. Who won? Who took away the cake? And who set the narrative? But what about the people who are stranded in the borders? As a media, aren't we responsible for that?
I think we are absolutely responsible for that. The only problem is that news has become, infotainment. Infotainment as a word has a history of about 45 years, but I think it's only about 15, 16 years ago that, this thing has truly captured media in India. with the advent of all the 24-hour satellite news channels. So therefore, war reporting has become huge entertainment that gains eyeballs, and eventually that leads to profits. That precisely is the reason why you notice jingoism being served on national TV, where truth becomes casualty, or truths, lies, everything are packaged and dished out to audiences. In our case, if you look at BBC's coverage, you'd find that in addition to trying to find out who did what, we were also trying to do all human interest stories, all the devastation, all the damages that people were suffering. We actually had lesser focus on who lost what, because see, in the fog of war, it's very difficult to ascertain. And that precisely is the reason why we never put a number to the aircraft India supposedly lost. And now, if I may go back to that question, I think officially the Indian government has made a statement which is very clear now that it has lost some jets. It's unwilling to divulge the number and the type as yet. And I still believe that, as a country, as a nation, India is a righteous one, and eventually the truth will come out. For whatever strategic reasons, countries do resort to this kind of information suppression at times. But, this is one suppression I only hope is only temporary, that eventually the country and the world will come to know. I mean, we'll have to recognize the fact that, billions of dollars of economy was also involved. The moment you say a Rafale fighter jet went down, the stocks go down like anything. You talk about millions and billions dollars of losses within a day. I think, there are certain things, those factors as well, which may be contributing to the decision to suppress this information. But I cannot say for sure that this is the only reason. I'm saying this could be only one reason. So yeah, going back to your main question about human interest, I think they are paramount, and they need to be highlighted going beyond infotainment.
India was seen as at the forefront in terms of advanced arms and ammunitions. It has recently developed its arms and ammunition with the in the able hands of Indian DRDO, ISRO, BEL, and of course with the visionary foresightedness of former President APJ Abdul Kalam. We have the BrahMos missile and Hummer, BrahMos, drones, Akash missile, name it, and we had it. There was S-400, Sudarshan Chakra, which also played a very vital role. We see a unique tri-services of Army, Air, and Navy working all together. Is it the modern and the more sophisticated version of warfare that we are heading towards?
Well, certainly warfare is dynamic and always changes with time, and we are looking at warfare which in the near future will be completely different from what we saw in say 1971 or whatever. But here what India was doing was basically, let's not forget the fact that it was a counter-terrorism strike. War hasn't really come to our doorstep even after 1971. I also don't consider Kargil as a war in that sense. It was confined to a small area which was remote. It came to our households because of the advent of television that time in 1999. But the real war we haven't seen, and that's one of the things that take away for me from Operation Sindoor is common people were treating it as a casual video game, which it is not. A lot of people have asked this question, why was it paused? Why was Sindoor paused? Because it was not something that India was intending to carry on. India has bigger things to lose if a war is prolonged. India is a bigger economy, India is a progressing nation, it's a developing nation, it's going to be a bigger economy. It has much to lose than Pakistan. Pakistan has nothing to lose. So therefore it was paused, the objectives were achieved on day one within 25 minutes, and that was it. Only when Pakistan retaliated, there was a retaliation by India on 10th of May. So I think people also have to be ready for distinguishing between what is a war, what is a skirmish, what is a conflict, what is a counter-terrorist strike. I think that's where the responsibility of the media comes in. You know, it's not a spectacle, it's not a video game to be, you know, enjoyed sitting in the studios or in your houses, because there are real losses. Lives are lost. Like in Poonch, people have lost their lives, they have lost their homes. So we must be cognizant of this problem. Also about the information sharing. I've held this view for last 25 years. If you don't give out facts, fiction will be written. Fiction is seen by me, by him, by her. You know, so therefore, governments have the responsibility. I think they will come out with it. I think the DG Air Operations did say, we suffered some losses. We will come to you, we'll tell you, we have recovered all our pilots. No pilot died in that. That is a fact. The rest is all about, like they say, it's Angrezi. You know?
I want to just quickly add two things. One is, of course, you asked me this question about, as a woman, how did I feel? I forgot to mention this, that I completely oppose the name given to this operation, Sindoor. This is something, as a woman, I found it extremely offensive. And I've written about it also, that it's one thing. And the other thing I want to quickly add is that this kind of television reporters, the Nautanki that we have seen, continues only because people like you and me watch them. If we stop watching them, the money stops. And if you stop that, this will stop. So Indian media deserves better. Thank you.
I think
Yeah, quick
we
views.
have a lot of questions there.
Okay,
We already
there are a
timed
lot
it
of
up.
questions.
Please forgive me. Siddharth Sarantinath. Can we have the, we'll have the question on the screen if it is possible. You said, what does Operation Sindhu signify for, Can you read it? What does Operation Sindhu signify for future Indian counter-terror and deterrence doctrine? That's where. Nitin, this for you.
Yeah, okay.
That's your subject.
Yeah. No, it does signify a milestone in India's strategy for counter-terrorism and deterrence. Like I said, deterrence is always, there is a time limit to deterrence, because the adversary, like Pakistan, will always find something new to do. So if they did something in Pulwama, they did something in Pahalgam, they will try and do something else going further. Like I said, we have to live with a neighbor. We cannot choose our neighbors. Geography is something we cannot determine. So the counter-terrorist strike or counter-terrorist strategy and deterrence strategy will depend on what Pakistan does. We have to be always prepared. One lesson from Sindoor is that war can come to you, or this kind of a situation will come to you because anytime, without any warning. And therefore, that's going to be your strategy, that you be prepared always, be prepared for the unexpected, and do the strike as soon as it's possible. This time in post Pulwama, it took 15 days for India to strike. If it happens again, India may do it within a week. That's the kind of deterrence that India is building, like what she said about Akash and S-400s and BrahMos and all that. That's going to be the strategy going forward, right?
Next question by Alankrit. Just show if your hand. Where are you? The question is, during Operation Sindoor, the right-inclined media house prioritized sensationalism over facts. How does this compromise journalistic integrity and the public's right to accurate information during national security crisis, and what reforms are needed to ensure responsible, unbiased and reporting? That's maybe Sangeeta. Question, 1 second, you can,
Yeah, well, I think we've already touched that. But as I said, it's very important that public must play a role, okay? It is not that when we see the downfall of the Indian media, of course, it cannot operate in silos. It is operating somewhere as part of the whole Indian society. So, public needs to play that role. It needs to remind, if someone is not doing journalism, public interest journalism, it needs to remind. Like what I was saying is that you you stop watching it. You stop watching because this is fake time. And your time is important. If you are trying to take some vicarious pleasure out of this, something else. But if you are looking for real information, then watch something, read something that is going to help you, because you have a head over your shoulders. It is not that somebody is just telling you something and you have to consume it. You're not a robot. You have something to think here. So if you are getting enough clues and enough details and facts, you follow that. But the solution is only that. You know, we journalists, why do I get up in the morning and do my work? I do my work because I am supposed to ask question to the government of the day, whichever party it is. My job is because I look at myself as part of the fourth estate. And what is the job of the fourth estate? It is to ask questions to the government of the day on your behalf, not on my behalf, okay? So, but what we are saying now is the whole corporatization of the media. It is the questions are asked or not asked as part of the corporate honcho who owns it, his interest or her interest. Also, then many politicians own these television channels, you know. So it is only the questions are asked or not asked, or things are shown or not shown, and based on that particular journalist, that politician's interest. In Assam, we have a news, what is it called? Yeah, something we also have. No, I don't watch it.
Next question to Shasim by Mayush. Can we have a display? In military operation, how do competing narratives from social media, independent outlets and mainstream media intersect with political propaganda, and does this fragmented information ecosystem strengthen democratic scrutiny or amplify disinformation? Mayusha Kashyap, can you just raise your hand? Yeah, that's Mayusha. Thank you for the question. Sachin, that's maybe the last question.
It's a beautiful question. It happens both ways. And why I'm saying both ways is there are countries, there are institutions, organizations which may try to take advantage of this fragmented scenario that we are talking about. But at the same time, it gives people the opportunity to ask the right questions that regular media may not. We often forget that, you know, as a news organization, every entity needs to have certain underlying commitments to certain values. You know, those values could be peace, those values may include non-violence, climate justice. But point is, in our case, most of the media entities in this country, they do not seem to have any commitment to these kind of values. All they care about is providing entertainment, gain eyeballs, and eventually make profit. Therefore, I totally agree with what you say, that, you know, audiences will need to be careful. But at the same time, I think on the side of the media, I've been strongly of this view that it's high time that news outlet owners need to get together. They need to work on a code of ethics, because essentially in a democratic country, we cannot push things down media's throat. A lot of things need to come through self-censorship, and a lot of things need to come through introspection. In that regard, you know, when news outlets, media owners, influential people, they get together and they're able to, you know, build a set code of ethics, essentially the competition within the outlets will happen within the boundaries of, I would say, decency. I think, you know, these are things which probably would take us to a better future.
There's a lot of younger audience here, that's why I just want to say just one line. When you consume news or information, apply the old principle what we used to have in our newsrooms in the earlier days, in our younger days, is check, cross-check and double-check. Only make judgment after that. Don't go by what you see for the first time. Please check it. And there are enough outlets and enough platforms available where you can check, cross-check and double-check. That's all I can say really.
Thank you so much. It was an amazing session. I think as a journalist, as a media house, we got to learn a lot from the veterans of the industry. And because we are a regional channel, we get inspired, we get influenced by national media. And during Operation Sindoor, our eyes open wide, and we thought that it is better to do it our way than to follow any national media. So that's why this topic and that's why this panel, and I'm so grateful to everyone that they have made it out of their busy schedule. Thank you and best wishes.
Thank you, Smitakshi. I must add, what Pratidin is doing is fabulous. Continue your work. Don't get scared by power. No.
Thanks, Nitin. Thanks, Sangeeta. Thanks, Sasin.